Being a student at an ultra-exclusive private school comes with its fair share of unusual experiences. It seems that the more privileged and connected someone is, the stranger they tend to behave. As a sophomore, it has been challenging for me to find genuine friends amidst the fake personas and pretenses that surround me. However, I started the year with a great group of people whom I genuinely cared about. Then, Joey, a new student, entered the scene. I knew very little about him initially, except for the rumors that circulated regarding his father's immense wealth and powerful position in a globally renowned corporation. However, I had learned not to judge people based on their financial status or hearsay. Having been in a similar position before, I decided to take Joey under my wing and introduce him to my circle of friends. Although he had some eccentricities and made jokes that didn't always sit well with me, I overlooked those aspects, knowing that I, too, had my quirks. I believed in giving people a chance without prejudging them. Over time, Joey and I became best friends. We shared everything, although he was generally private and listened more than he shared. Despite his stoic demeanor, I always sensed a certain distance, a hint of mystery surrounding him. Strangely enough, I found that aspect intriguing, and my friends and I often teased him about it. It's worth mentioning that I am a lesbian, and I made my sexual orientation clear to Joey from the beginning, which prevented any romantic advances from him. As prom approached, one of my friends, Sarah, asked Joey to be her date. Purely as friends, Sarah possessed remarkable talent as a musical theater singer, and her unique beauty exuded an ethereal quality. Joey, struggling with self-confidence issues, started developing strong feelings for Sarah, mistakenly believing that her invitation meant she reciprocated those emotions. He became obsessed with prom, meticulously planning every detail, from the corsage to extravagant gifts like a pricey bracelet and even AirPods. His infatuation with Sarah grew, and he eventually poured his heart out in a paragraph, expressing his love for her and how he appreciated her kindness and ability to see him for who he truly was. However, Sarah, being polite and non-confrontational, kindly explained that she didn't share his romantic feelings, hoping they could remain friends. Prom night arrived, and Joey's behavior became increasingly concerning. He tried to isolate Sarah, buying her more gifts and attempting to get her alone in a car. Recognizing the potential danger, I intervened, choosing to ride with Joey in the car instead. He was visibly unhappy about this arrangement. During the weekend following prom, Sarah and I had planned a fun girls' trip. However, before leaving, Sarah received a lengthy message from Joey. In the message, he confessed his love for her and blamed me for ruining his prom night by not allowing Sarah to be alone with him in the car. Sarah found his message disturbing, and throughout our trip, Joey bombarded her with creepy texts and social media interactions, incessantly checking in on us. On our return journey, he escalated his behavior, spamming Sarah's social media accounts and liking all her posts across various platforms. Sarah felt deeply uncomfortable and disturbed by his actions. I took a nap upon arriving home, only to wake up to a barrage of missed calls from Joey. When I finally answered, he was sobbing uncontrollably, unable to comprehend why Sarah had removed him from her social media accounts. He pleaded with me, demanding that I find out what happened. However, when I explained to him that his refusal to accept no as an answer was not okay, he grew angry. I called Sarah to discuss the situation, and she revealed that Joey had started stalking Sarah's sister and cousins, sending them unsettling messages. Fearing for her safety, Sarah's mother insisted that she block Joey on all platforms. I relayed this information to Joey, who broke down in tears once again, blaming me for everything and claiming that his actions were criminal. He began spamming my social media accounts and bombarding me with phone calls, but I chose not to engage with him. Feeling scared and overwhelmed, I confided in Sarah about the situation. Her response was incredibly supportive and loving. She refused to let Joey drag me further into his unsettling behavior and expressed her concern for our well-being. In agreement with her, I decided to sever all communication with Joey. However, my fears continued to linger. Joey had seemingly unlimited resources and connections due to his family's wealth and influence, making me worry that he might use them to harm us. Unsure of what to do, I sought advice from trusted adults and confided in my parents about the situation. They assured me that they would take necessary precautions to ensure our safety and advised me to stay vigilant while they explored legal avenues to protect us. Days turned into weeks, and Joey's presence gradually faded from our lives. It was a relief to no longer receive constant messages and calls, but the experience left me wary of the unpredictable nature that can lie beneath even the closest of friendships. Sarah and I grew stronger through this ordeal, supporting each other and cherishing the genuine bonds we had formed. As time passed, we learned to trust again, but the memory of Joey's disturbing behavior stayed with us. We became advocates for open communication, consent, and respecting personal boundaries, hoping to prevent similar situations from arising in the future. Looking back, I realized that sometimes the masks people wear can hide deeper complexities, and it's essential to remain cautious and prioritize our safety. While I couldn't change the past, I vowed to use my experiences to raise awareness and create a supportive environment where everyone feels valued and protected. As for Joey, I never heard from him again. The friendships we thought we had built on trust and camaraderie turned out to be based on illusions and obsessions. It was a painful lesson to learn, but it strengthened my resolve to surround myself with genuine friends who would always respect and support me. In the end, this experience taught me the importance of listening to my instinct, setting boundaries, and standing up against behavior that makes others uncomfortable. It shaped me into a stronger and more discerning individual, determined to forge authentic connections while remaining vigilant for signs of toxicity or manipulation. After completing my second year of college, I decided to book an air for a relaxing getaway with a close friend. We stumbled upon an off-grid yurt that caught our interest. It was located on a secluded dirt road, making it a bit challenging to find. The directions involved landmarks like stacked tires and forks in the road rather than a traditional address. Despite the unconventional directions, we made our way to the yurt, excited for our unique experience. The first night went smoothly, and the next day we ventured into town, exploring the area before returning to our cozy yurt. The location seemed isolated, with no immediate neighbors in sight. Due to the heat, I felt comfortable walking around the yurt topless, enjoying the freedom of the secluded environment. As night fell, I settled into bed, opting to sleep in the nude. At some point, my friend, who was still awake, heard distant voices. Two men were conversing, their voices gradually growing closer. Curiosity turned to concern when they approached our yurt, shining a flashlight against its walls. While our belongings were safely inside, our car and shoes were visible just outside the yurt. Abruptly, the men turned off the flashlight, plunging us into darkness. Unbeknownst to me, as I slept, my friend desperately tried to wake me up by pinching me. It took some time, but eventually I gasped awake, finding my friend signaling for silence. Fully alert, I lay on my back, unable to make a sound as we both listened intently. The desert night amplified every noise, making even the creaking of the bed a potential giveaway. We struggled to breathe quietly, our heads turned towards each other, communicating through whispers. The moments stretched on, alternating between the gusts of wind carrying the sounds of nature and the unsettling footsteps that circled our yurt. At one point, the men stomped loudly around us, triggering the memory of my half-asleep state, mistaking the noise for a herd of animals. The silence returned, only to be broken by faint footsteps encircling us once again. Despite being typically timid, a surge of adrenaline filled me with the urge to scream and fight back. My friend, on the other hand, emphasized the need for absolute silence. We communicated through a notes app on her phone, with the screen brightness turned all the way down. We desperately tried to contact 911, but the dispatcher proved unhelpful, refusing assistance without a precise address. We reiterated that we were on a remote dirt road, providing the limited directions we had, pleading for their intervention. Frustrated by the lack of progress, we abandoned texting altogether, fearing the light from the phone screen might give us away. In that moment, I regretted not wearing pajamas and keeping my self-defense tools closer at hand. The realization that our lives were in danger loomed over me, contemplating the potential for harm and the pain it would cause my family. I accepted the grim possibility of being stabbed, apologizing internally for leaving loose ends and unspoken words. In the midst of this eternal frozen state, we heard the zipper of our yurt being tampered with. It was the breaking point that shattered our silence. We simultaneously yelled, "Now!" as a signal to take action. I lunged towards my bag, which contained my self-defense items, setting off an alarm, activating a loud sound from my taser, and announcing that 911 was on its way. Meanwhile, my friend dialed emergency services on speakerphone. We made as much noise as we could, knowing help was approaching as we hastily packed our belongings. When the police officer arrived, he patiently waited as we packed our bags. We packed our bags into my car. He advised us against staying so far off the main road, and we wholeheartedly agreed. After all, our intention was to have a fun and relaxing time at the airport, not to find ourselves in a dangerous situation. Just as we were about to leave, my friend noticed something unsettling. Large, unmistakable handprints covered every inch of my car. They were larger than any hands we had ever seen before, even bigger than those of my brother, who we considered a big guy. It was infuriating that the police officer hadn't noticed them earlier. However, at the same time, I was relieved to have tangible evidence that someone had been near our yurt that night. I took multiple photos, capturing every angle, determined to keep them as proof of our ordeal. The most disturbing part came later when my friend shared her research findings. It turned out that there had been a string of unsolved murders in Wonder Valley, the area where our yurt was located, over the past year. As she read the articles detailing the missing persons cases, I recognized every road mentioned in the articles as the very roads that led to our yurt. The realization sent shivers down my spine, and I couldn't help but think about the narrow escape we had just experienced. I understand that some may think that nothing truly horrific happened to us that night. However, it's difficult to convey the deep sense of dread and acceptance of potential danger that engulfed me. It was an instinctual feeling, a gut-wrenching realization that my life could have easily ended that night. It's something that lingers in the subconscious, forever reminding me of the fragility of life and the importance of trusting our instinct. Since that harrowing experience, I've become more cautious, never taking my personal safety for granted. I've also shared our story with others, emphasizing the significance of being aware of our surroundings and taking necessary precautions, even in seemingly safe environments. While I may never truly understand the intentions of those men or what could have transpired that night, I am grateful for the courage my friend and I mustered to protect ourselves. We emerged from that frightening encounter with a renewed appreciation for life and a reminder to trust our instincts, no matter how unsettling they may be. Now, whenever I pass by that airport listing or hear stories of similar incidents, I am reminded of the night we narrowly escaped harm, forever etched in my memory as a reminder of the fragility and resilience of the human spirit. A few summers ago, my friends and I organized a farewell party for our friend who was preparing to move to Canada. We chose to celebrate on a secluded island during its off-peak season, ensuring that we would have the entire place to ourselves. We arrived at the island in the afternoon, excited for the festivities that awaited us. As we disembarked at the port, we realized that the resort service vehicle was delayed due to a mechanical issue. While we waited, we decided to visit a small store in a nearby village to pick up some items we had forgotten to bring with us. However, our peaceful excursion was marred by a group of men in their late 20s who began catcalling us. Despite politely declining their advances, one of the men persisted in his pursuit. Thankfully, one of my male friends quickly intervened and guided me away from the uncomfortable situation. Though unnerved, I breathed a sigh of relief when our resort's transportation finally arrived. Upon reaching the resort, we discovered that our accommodations consisted of bamboo cottages elevated on stilts. To access our rooms, we had to ascend bamboo ladders. The huts themselves were constructed entirely of bamboo, featuring bamboo floors and shared bathrooms located separately from the cottages. As the evening progressed, we indulged in lively partying. Being a lightweight, I soon found myself becoming tipsy. Excusing myself from the group, I ascended the ladder to my cottage with the intention of changing into my swimwear. However, the spinning sensation caused by the alcohol prevented me from changing, and I decided to take a nap instead. In order to sober up, I suggested to my friends that they go island hopping without me. After some initial reluctance, they eventually relented and set off on their adventure, leaving me to rest. When I awoke, twilight had settled over the resort, casting a dim light on everything. A silence enveloped the surroundings, as the resort's lights were not yet turned on due to the limited electricity supply from solar panels and generators, which were typically activated around 7 p.m. Struggling with a hangover, I used my phone's flashlight to navigate through the room. That's when I noticed something unsettling. The door was slightly ajar, despite my friends having closed it before they left. As I moved to close the door, the man who had bothered me earlier suddenly appeared, his head poking through the opening. His face bore a creepy smile as he persisted in his attempts to obtain my phone number. I sternly demanded that he leave, but he resorted to desperate measures, using his foot to prevent the door from closing completely. Fear surged through me, and I screamed for help while dialing my friends' numbers. His vulgar remarks in our native language, translating to "Ma'am, let's engage in sexual activity," intensified my terror. The sound of my distress reached the ears of the caretakers, who promptly rushed to my aid, their flashlights illuminating the area. Sensing their approach, the man hastily retreated, disappearing into the forest behind the hut. Trembling uncontrollably, I found myself unable to stand. My friends, having returned from their island hopping excursion, arrived at the scene. The caretakers informed them about the harrowing encounter, prompting immediate action. Together with the local island chief, they organized a search to apprehend the man. Sadly, despite their efforts, he managed to elude capture. Given the disturbing events, we made the decision to leave the island that very night. We relocated to a more secluded resort on another island, ensuring our safety and privacy. The experience served as a stark reminder of the importance of personal safety and vigilance, prompting us to be more cautious in our future travels. Looking back, it was a night filled with fear and unease. The incident had shaken me to my core, leaving me with a heightened sense of vulnerability. As we settled into our new resort, the tranquility of the surroundings offered a much-needed respite from the ordeal. Despite the lingering unease, we resolved to make the most of our remaining time together. Days were spent exploring the pristine beaches, embarking on thrilling water activities, and immersing ourselves in the local culture. The island's beauty and warm hospitality began to overshadow the memory of that fateful encounter. As we shared laughter and created cherished memories, I found solace in the supportive presence of my friends. We became more vigilant, keeping a watchful eye on our surroundings and prioritizing each other's safety. The incident had united us in a way that only shared adversity can. Towards the end of our stay, we decided to gather for a heartfelt discussion. Sitting under a starlit sky, we opened up about our experiences and fears. It was a cathartic moment of vulnerability and healing, as we realized that we were not alone in our anxieties. The incident had left an indelible mark on each of us, but we refused to let it overshadow the bond we had forged. With our departure date drawing near, we made a pact to support one another long after our time on the island ended. We promised to stay connected, ensuring that we would always be there to lend a listening ear or a helping hand. It was a testament to the strength of friendship and the resilience of the human spirit. Leaving the island, we carried with us a newfound appreciation for safety and security. The incident had served as a wake-up call, reminding us to prioritize our personal well-being in any situation. As we said our goodbyes, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the experiences we had shared, both the joyful and the challenging. Months passed, and life carried on. Though we were scattered across different corners of the world, our bond remained unbreakable. We kept our promise, checking in on one another regularly, offering support and encouragement. The incident had not defined us, it had only strengthened our resolve to protect one another and cherish the gift of friendship. Looking back on that summer, I realized that sometimes even the darkest moments can lead to growth and resilience. The encounter with the stranger had been a stark reminder of the dangers that lurk in the world, but it had also taught me the importance of trust, unity, and the unwavering support of true friends. As I moved forward in life, I carried those lessons with me, forever grateful for the experiences that had shaped me, and while the memory of that island encounter would always remain, it served as a reminder to stay vigilant and to appreciate the invaluable connections that enrich our lives.